Hey mamas, we've got 30 minutes on the clock, like always. You know what I'm gonna say. We're here in Katy, Texas. Thank you guys so much for being here with me today. Let's party, all right? So, this is episode 33. This is gonna be posted. Oh, this seat is slightly wet, but you know what? That is that is no problem today because it's probably been raining a little bit and I can change my outfit in 30 minutes. I'm not a little baby. So, yeah, this is episode 33 posted on January 19th, and we're going to call this episode Rest. Um, this is posted while I'm in California, actually, and this is a conversation about a lot of different things. So let's get started, shall we? I posted California last week, and I was supposed to be in California at this point. It's Thursday. I was supposed to be in California yesterday, but my concussion has prevented that from happening. So here we are, in again Katy, Texas, and I will be updating y'all about what has been transpiring here. So let's talk about that car crash first off. Um, First off, thank God I'm alive. I was driving from Alabama back to Texas because I had been in Alabama for a week. And this is not my first time taking this trip. This is my second time taking this drive. And I totaled my car. Basically, it was like 6 a.m. It's 2 hours away from Birmingham, Alabama, and I was in Meridian, Mississippi, and I found myself hydroplaning. Unfortunately, I have like a tire that's got like a very low tread, but also lots has happened. And yeah, I hit the guardrail and I feel like I hit some other things, but basically I ended up in a ditch and I ended up hitting a one-way stop or a one-way street sign that was in the ditch with like around the feeder, right? And yeah, I totaled my car. That led, I mean, I was on the phone with Zach already. That led to him picking me up. And the Officer Haddix, was very kind. He was a little bit late to work. So I think that's why, especially, he was kind because I was a great excuse. It was a wonderful thing that he could find me, at an accident. Um, and then Zach picked me up from Meridian, Mississippi. And then I was in Birmingham for an extra day. Zach was so kind to take care of me. And we went to urgent care. And then from urgent care, they scared us. They made us very concerned and were extremely worried about me. So they sent us to an ER where I got a CT scan. And they didn't say, but obviously concluded from their reactions and everyone doing everything that I had a concussion. So this is like less than 24 hours after my car crash. I have been resting, I've been taking care of myself, my body's hurting in way more ways. We went to the urgent care so late because I didn't realize I had hit my head or had a concussion or anything. But, when I had stopped from like 70 miles per hour, 60 miles per hour, whatever, how like fast I was going on the highway, 50 maybe, um, when I crashed, I had maybe 40, right? Like it could have been, but it was like it felt high, and I also blacked out for a little bit and then came to. But when I had like come to, it had felt like truly what I had remembered from the trauma being stored in my body, that my body was like very stiff and my core stayed strong, and because of that my body didn't hit anything. I don't feel like, maybe it did hit the window and like the side a little bit because of the jerk being so intense, right? But also I could have had my skeleton and my brain shift inside of me, my organs shift inside of me, and those could be bruised. So that's unfortunate, right? What a horrible crash. Totaled my car. My tires were like sideways. Yeah, it felt like my entire car was like scraping the floor as it was getting towed on the truck. And this was again like at 6 a.m. By 9 a.m., Zach got to Meridian, Mississippi. By 11, we got back to 11:12 noon, we got back to Alabama, and then we figured out a situation to get me on a bus. Initially, we are thinking that I was going to be driving myself on a rental car. And obviously, like with a concussion, I wasn't understanding that I had a concussion, but I obviously, again, couldn't even drive. So that was that. And from not driving, I ended up again on a bus. And then this is like less than 24 hours later, I'm on a bus. Like from 6 a.m. to like 10 p.m., you know? So now Zach drops me off at the Birmingham Greyhound. And now, less than 24 hours later, I get into a bus crash. And both incidents, I end up, like bus crash and car crash, I end up in the back of a car, a police car. First time because it was raining and also my car was totaled, and I will have had needed to go to the police station somehow, you know, otherwise I'd be stranded in the middle of nowhere. And then on the bus, the Greyhound situation, I was put in the back of a cop car because the Greyhound was taking a routine route when we ended up in the ditch, and the police had to take us to a the Greyhound station like 2 minutes or less away, right around the corner. It was honestly walking distance, and I really needed to go to the bathroom. And yeah, it was really annoying and frustrating, to be honest. But yeah. Officer Haddix in Meridian, Mississippi was very kind. Also, I want to mention from the Greyhound bus station in Birmingham, Alabama, you know, you have a lot of stops from that to Houston. So, when I had woken up, because you know obviously my body was tired from the first car crash, I had woken up only twice. First in Meridian, Mississippi, you know, right before the Greyhound bus station, which I thought was insane because isn't that where I crashed? And I literally prayed to God that I wouldn't see that. And I should have prayed to God that we wouldn't have gotten into a bus crash, but honestly, like that didn't even seem like it would have done anything, because honestly, I don't even think I didn't pray for that. I think I did pray for that, to be honest. But yeah, we got to Monroe, Louisiana when we crashed the bus. And the bus was in a ditch, like the back wheel. And everyone that I had told this to had asked, how did this happen? And a lot of people were like, "You're joking, right?" And I was like, I wish I was joking about this. Um, you know that like less than 24 hours later I get into the same situation also in the first police vehicle with Officer Haddix. His phone had disconnected from the vehicle and connected to his car, and was literally on the loudest setting blasting music while all of my items were on my earthly possessions from the car were on my body, you know, suffocating me. And it was like very hot, and I was like in a jacket because it was raining outside and cold, and I was suffocating because it was hot from the heater. And you know, you're in the back seat of the police vehicle and you can't open the door because there's no handles, and you're like locked in the back seat, and you can't touch anything in the front because there's a shotgun and a rifle. So literally that was hell on earth. That was like anxiety ridden central. And then when I was in the cop car a second time, it was like, oh my god, like this is a trigger, just a reminder of the music. And I'm honestly like, I'm speeding through all of this because we're talking about rest, right? Like it's funny because I named this podcast episode Rest before I had even had a car accident or a bus accident. So I'm glad that like I gave myself space to rest. And obviously like rest is implanted in my life everywhere I go, but like also I feel like I'm just always constantly going, so everything is going and rest for me, you know, like I find a way to do work that makes me feel like I'm at rest. So that's the bus crash. Then we were outside for 4 hours in 39-degree cold weather, which was not fun at all. So obviously, I've been giving myself a lot of extra self care. I want to thank Joaquina more than anyone for in the middle of Shreveport, Louisiana, when my bus. Obviously, I was late after the bus accident. So after the Greyhound bus was not being very helpful to us. Um, I got back on a bus to Baton Rouge, which was going deeper into Louisiana before I went to Houston, which was very frustrating and annoying. But you know, it's what was happening. I was like so close to Texas, but again, Joaquina got me items from Target and also bought me some Vietnamese food from like a local Vietnamese shop, and got me a vermicelli bowl and made sure I was fed. And I want to thank them more than anything. And I also want to thank my family for picking me up from the Greyhound bus station, my sister specifically, for making sure that I got home safe, for wanting to put me on an airplane, even though the idea of an airplane after a car crash, bus crash, sounds like an airplane crash, you know? I was like, no, I do not need that. So yeah, that has all been helpful, extra self-care. My family got me like push pop candies. I bought myself some candies. My partner Zach picking me up in the middle of Alabama, making sure that we could push the flight time, also getting to talk to my doctor, Joaquina pushing me to talk to my doctor, my community just stepping up in general. Grace, thank you so much for sending me some money. Sam, also thank you so much for sending me some money. I want to thank you guys even more in depth personally. Thank you to everyone who checked up on me. Thank you to all of my listeners who watch my podcast. Thank you to God for keeping me here. Thank you to my guardian angels also for keeping me here. I also want to talk about my time in Alabama because my time in Alabama was restful. Obviously, I want to thank Zach again for driving us everywhere after I had driven all the way. I also want to thank him for, again, providing this experience, even though I did have a totaled vehicle and I almost lost my life. That was not my fault or no one's fault. That just happens sometimes because physics is slick and smooth. But I want to thank Zach for keeping me fed and showing me a good time, because we went to like a lot of different restaurants. Like we got barbecue, we got pizza, we got Thai food. I love Thai food, so we continuously get Thai food from this one place, and we've tried a couple of their options, which has been nice. I get to know that part of the world better, and I don't know, they've got like a lot of small businesses, to be honest, in Alabama. Again, this is my second time in Alabama. I feel like I've talked about my first time before. Anthony, I want to shout you out. I want to shout him out because I mean, he would definitely know. Anthony would know Otai, the writer, if I had gone to Alabama, or sorry, if I talked about Alabama on the podcast or not. Um, I also want to say specifically that Otai will be an interview coming up soon. I am very excited for these prospects because the interviews are just going to continue and my life is going to continue and the world is going to continue, right? I also have to do a thank you video soon, and I'm just like so grateful to be able to speak about this on the podcast right now because before, like last week on episode 32 when I was talking about California, I did not have 200 subscribers on my YouTube channel. And like, last year at some point, well, first of all, I started last year with 3 subscribers from like 2013 when I first started YouTube all the way to 2025. And then I started my podcast. And then at some point, I gained 100 subscribers. And then I talked about that. Now we're at 200 subscribers. And I again have to thank you guys. So yeah, here we are, continuing to live life, continuing to show up day by day, being ourselves, being honest. Um, and again, yeah, thank you guys, everyone who tunes in. Thank you to all of the people who have been on the podcast, all of the interviewees, specifically Guy Shanks, Defiant Darius, Carmen Lizarraga, Alan Leonardo, Ethan Bryan, and then that has been the first 5 months of interviews. For the 6 months interview, last month, January, we just had Ethan Bryan. In February, my plan is to have Angela Stone, and I want to again thank Defiant Darius for introducing me to Angela Stone because he had a music video with her earlier last year, right after my gum surgery. I had 2 gum surgeries back to back. My second one was, thank God, better than my first one in terms of pain because my first one I was awake for. I don't know if I've ever spoken about that on the podcast. But, again, there's a lot of things that we have to talk about on the podcast, and these are only like about 30-minute episodes. Sometimes with an interviewee moments, we have longer than 30 minutes. And a lot of times when I'm talking only by myself, I have less than 30 minutes because I sometimes feel like I don't have a lot to talk about, or sometimes I feel tired, or sometimes I don't have the storage space on my phone. On my phone right now, I had to do a lot of work to gain the storage space this past week. I had to delete Instagram and then re-download it. For some reason, I've been scared to do that, but like, apps gain a lot of storage after some time. So yeah, I want to thank Darius again for bringing Angela Stone into my life and Otai because both of those individuals were at the Money Moves um, music video that I am in. Again, thank you, Darius, for giving me that opportunity. I also want to thank Angela Stone for taking the opportunity to be the February podcast interview. I also want to thank her for her amazing voice, her amazing music, her community building, her love, her life, her light, her wonderful just experience of her existence. You know, she's an amazing human being, and I want to uplift and promote individuals like Angela more and more. And again, she is such a gift in my life. She has actually offered to bring me to Florida one of these days, which I think is just incredible. I just am so grateful for the friends that I have and the experiences that I have and the ability to talk about these experiences on the podcast and in my life. And also in March, I want to talk about my friend Gigi, who is my friend from Michigan. I have been friends with Gigi for a long time now, maybe half a decade, and we have been friends online since Twitter days. We found each other because of our art pages, and I just think Gigi is such, again, a community builder, a lovely human being, a wonderful person, so smart, so dedicated to her craft. You know, I'm proud of these individuals no matter what, and Gigi is supposed to be my March interview. So again, thank you so much to everyone who tunes in and for making this possible. Again, I want to thank Otai. Sorry, I keep messing up somehow. I'm not constantly messing up, but I'm messing up sometimes, you know. I still mess up sometimes, but that's neither here nor there. I want to thank Otai because, again, I have accepted him for the April interview. And the interviews are continuing, you know, so we have until April planned. And then we have May, and you know, that's 8 interviews out of the 12 that I have dedicated my year to. This podcast has changed my life significantly, and I know that, you know, after the first year of my podcast, I do want to continue. I have done the podcast in Maynard, Texas. I have done the podcast in Austin and Houston, and you know, I have also had the privilege of recording in Birmingham, and hopefully, I will have the privilege of recording in California. And I've had the privilege again to talk to people in Chicago. And two people actually, Carmen Lizarga was in Chicago while we had that conversation, but I know her from Houston, or them from Houston, you know. And Carmen, again, a beautiful individual, a beautiful musician, a beautiful person. Keep in contact with them and in touch with what they're doing in the world. Let's move on with the podcast. We've got about 10 minutes left on this clock. So let's talk about journaling recently. So I journaled for the first time after the concussion, and I honestly shouldn't even be journaling or podcasting or doing much work, but I've been doing too much work because the world keeps going, 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 and it's fast, 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 you know, and it's 2026. And, you know, we all have plans and goals that we want to accomplish this year, and we don't want to feel behind. And yeah, you need to take care of yourself and take your sick days, but at this point, it's been 5 days since my crash. And yeah, you know, you can sit in your trauma and you can like have a bad experience, or you can take care of yourself and you can have a good experience, you know? So I choose to have a better experience. So yeah, the podcast in its own way and the shape and form is a form of journaling. And I also want to talk about reading. Like, I want to read more and more books. I've been reading in Spanish, I've been reading in English, I want to read in more languages. My Spanish understanding has improved and increased over the last couple of years. I've been amazed and impressed by myself with that. I want to talk to more Spanish speaking individuals. I want to talk to people who only speak Spanish. I have talked to a lot of people who have only spoken Spanish, and they've been impressed by me, and I want to continue to test my abilities. I just want to continue reading in general and improve my abilities, and get into more activities as the years progress. You know, I am 25 years old. This is the rest of your life. You know, this is your adulthood. I am dealing with my concussion still. I Everything that I've talked about has been concussion care. You know, even the ability to go on the bus has been concussion care. And even though I got into a bus crash, I am still alive, and that is also concussion care. The fact that I'm back in Houston, Texas, and I have not been going to traveling for the moment until Saturday, that is concussion care. When I post this, you know, later, that will be concussion care. My podcast continuously journaling, everything, love, therapy, body work, physical therapy, strength training, everything. It's therapy. I've always known this. I've already known this. I'm so grateful again to my community for reminding me of why we do this. Otai told me that, I don't know if anyone has watched Severance, but I don't want to give too many spoilers, but there's just like, you know, it's like you're severed. There's a part of you that's like working, and there's a part of you that's not working. That's just like the premise of the show. And there's a book that helps the inner part of themselves, the one that's working. And that's all I'll say. But Otai has said that my podcast is similar to that. And if you know, you know. And if you don't know, you don't know. And yeah, so if you know, then like that is also concussion care. Like the fact that I have this platform, the fact that I have 200 people subscribed right now, that's insane. Like, why are you guys here? Why do you guys keep coming back? Please hit the like button, comment down below what you guys think, subscribe to my channel, tell your friends, tell your family. Oh, I hate bugs. I don't hate bugs. I hate flies. I hate cockroaches. I don't also hate them, but I also hate them. Lots to think about, you know. I have a partner. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. I have best friends. I am so grateful to be traveling and to continue to connect and to be who I am. Next week, we're going to be talking about this episode 34 called Post Vibes. And then after Post Vibes, we have February, which is, inshallah, our interview. And things may sometimes, again, fall apart by accident, but we like staying consistent here on this podcast, Poetry on the Patio with Pleiades. And for that reason, I do want to say that I hope that everything works out, and I pray that you guys pray for me because I pray for you guys as well. Thank you guys for being an audience for me. So for the post vibes, we want to talk about post Cali. How has California been? How has that been going for me? How did you like it? And yeah, let's talk about it. Maybe I'll be in California when I'm talking about that. More traveling. How have you been after traveling a lot more? Post loss and grief. How have you been after losing so much? Wow, this airplane is really loud. That's a helicopter. And it was pretty close, but I've seen helicopters closer, which is crazier and louder and windier. Oh my god, life. Whew. ID, Dee, Mr. Filson, naming the ancestors while we have time here. Post partying. I don't know what I mean by that, but I guess we'll find out. Post schooling, post healing, post Malone. And that is what we have for episode 34. Thank you guys so much again for being here, for listening, for being a part of my community, for supporting me, for coming to my YouTube channel, for subscribing, for being a part of the podcast. You guys know what I'm going to say before I head off tonight. Thank you guys so much again. I am so grateful. I'm so blessed. Have faith. Take care of yourself. Take care of your friends, your family. Take care of your mental health, your physical health. Work on strength training. Write a book, journal, drink water, eat healthy, brush your teeth, eat foods that you like, eat foods that are healthy for you, and sometimes I guess have some junk food, but don't have it too often. Think about your health, think about your blood, think about your sanity, think about sugar, you know, think about social media, think about socializing, thinking about connecting, read a book, learn a different language, be a beginner. And until next time, you know, one thing at a time. Much love. We have 5 minutes left on the clock, but on the clockina. But until next time, folks, bye bye.